What if I told you that the greatest turning points in your life might not come from the dramatic crisis you fear, but from the quiet, almost invisible moments you barely notice? Has this ever happened to you, an ordinary situation that later revealed itself as the seed of profound transformation? We often imagine that change requires an earthquake, something that shakes the very ground we stand on. Yet in reality, it's the small, seemingly insignificant moments, the conversations overheard, decisions made on impulse, the pauses we take when life feels overwhelming, that redirect the entire course of our journey. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because these hidden turning points are everywhere, waiting for you to recognize their power. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Each of you carries your own story, and together we create a global community exploring wisdom, growth, and the subtle shifts that shape our lives. Think about this. How many times have you looked back and realized that what felt small at the time, a chance meeting, a last-minute decision, an unexpected delay actually changed everything? We rarely acknowledge it in the moment, but these are the hidden thresholds where transformation begins. And perhaps the most intriguing part is that we often resist them, dismiss them, or simply fail to notice their significance. Yet if we learn to pay attention, to pause and reflect, we might discover that life has been guiding us all along, offering gentle nudges instead of violent storms. Deadlines work in the same mysterious way. They may appear as restrictions, limitations pressing on us, but in truth, they are structures that push us to act, to focus, to crystallize our potential. Just like the beaver who prepares tirelessly for winter, guided by instinct and necessity, we too thrive under the urgency of time. Without deadlines, ideas remain ideas, floating endlessly without form. But the pressure of time compels us to create, to transform thought into action, and action into results. Have you ever noticed how often your best work, your most creative solutions, emerge not when you had unlimited time, but when the clock was ticking and hesitation was no longer an option? Stay with me until the end, because this is not just about productivity or efficiency. It's about understanding the hidden architecture of your life, the way small, unnoticed moments, combined with the structure of time, forge the path ahead. The beauty lies in recognizing that what feels like a trivial instant or a looming deadline is, in fact, a signal. It's life whispering that you are capable of more, that you are being prepared for something greater than you might yet see. So ask yourself now, how many opportunities might you have already overlooked because you dismissed them as too ordinary? How many times have you wished for clarity, not realizing that the very clarity you sought was hidden inside the pressure, the timing, the subtle detail you brushed aside? These questions matter because the answers can shift the way you see every single day moving forward. And this is only the beginning. Because once you understand how these hidden forces operate, how the unnoticed moment and the ticking clock join together, you begin to uncover a deeper pattern, one that might just change the way you live from this moment on. Now, let's step into that pattern together. If you're enjoying this journey and want to keep unlocking insights that can truly shift your mindset and your life, make sure to subscribe. That way, every new video finds its way directly to you, right when you need it most. Character. It's a word we hear often, yet we rarely pause to consider what it truly means in our own journey. Reputation may echo loudly in the world, shaping how others see us, but it is only a reflection, a surface image that can be manipulated, misinterpreted, or even fabricated. Character, on the other hand, is invisible to the eye, but undeniable in presence. It is built in silence, in the choices we make when no one is watching, in the hidden truth of how we treat others when there is nothing to gain. Imagine the strength of a mindset that no longer seeks to polish reputation for appearances, but instead invests fully in the deeper layers of essence. That is where transformation begins, at the roots, where no applause reaches, but where true impact is born. Reputation might open doors, but character determines whether those doors remain open. In moments of challenge, when the world seems uncertain and expectations weigh heavily. It is not the image others hold of us that sustains our steps. It is the integrity we carry within. This is why character endures, while reputation shifts like shadows with the movement of light. When you realize this, decisions begin to change. You stop acting for validation and start acting from conviction. And strangely enough, that is what often creates the most powerful and lasting reputation, an unintended consequence of living truthfully. But then comes another question. What is the cost of living in alignment with your essence? Here lies a profound revelation. Every choice demands an exchange. The price of anything is measured by the life energy you trade for it. Time, attention, health, peace of mind, these are currencies far more valuable than money, yet they are spent quietly, day after day, often without awareness. We pay in late nights that drain us, in commitments that do not reflect our values, in distractions that steal our focus from what matters most. The hidden truth is that we are all investors, constantly pouring our energy into something, whether consciously or unconsciously. Think about it. How much of your energy has gone to maintaining appearances, chasing what the crowd approves of, or preserving an image that doesn't truly belong to you? And how would your life transform if that same energy were directed toward your growth, your healing, your inner strength? The impact of that shift is immeasurable. It's as if suddenly, behind the scenes, the gears of your destiny begin turning differently. Every investment of energy in alignment with your character builds momentum, carving a path that feels both authentic and unstoppable. This is where courage enters, because when you begin living this way, you will notice something uncomfortable. The crowd is often wrong. Society thrives on conformity. It celebrates what is common, rewards what is popular, and resists those who choose a different way. But the most extraordinary journeys are rarely walked on crowded roads. The revelation that greatness is often found in solitude, in daring to take the opposite path when everyone rushes in one direction, is both liberating and frightening. Following the crowd offers comfort, but comfort is not the birthplace of transformation. It is in divergence, in stepping into the unknown, that new truths are uncovered. Behind the applause of the majority lies a hidden cost sacrificing authenticity for acceptance. Yet when you decide to measure value not by approval, but by integrity, you discover that the most rewarding path is rarely the most popular one. It demands resilience, clarity, and a willingness to stand alone, if necessary. And though the crowd may mock, resist, or misunderstand, the reward is profound. Alignment with your essence, freedom from illusion, and the quiet power of walking your own road. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because it is at this intersection between essence and energy, between solitude and courage, that the most transformative insights emerge. What happens when you begin to see not only the visible costs of your decisions, but also the invisible ones that shape your future? And before we continue, let me leave you with a small invitation. Write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." Because when you affirm it, you're not just interacting, you're declaring to yourself that you recognize these truths in your own life. It's a way of marking your place in this journey, signaling that you, too, are stepping into alignment with something deeper. Knowledge is one of the most fascinating treasures we can accumulate, but on its own, it is lifeless, a tool left unused on a shelf. You can read every book, attend every lecture, listen to countless voices of wisdom, and still remain unchanged if you never translate those insights into movement. The hidden truth is that transformation does not come from what you know, but from what you do with what you know. Behind the scenes of every life that inspires us lies not just understanding, but the relentless courage to act, even when uncertainty lingers. Think about it. How many times have you held the answer in your hands, yet hesitated to put it into practice, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives? Action is what breathes life into knowledge, turning abstract information into visible impact. Without it, wisdom remains potential, never fully realized. But action alone is not enough if the soil it grows from is poisoned by negativity. Attitude is the invisible force shaping destiny. Two people may face the same obstacle, yet their outcomes diverge dramatically depending on how they choose to see it. One views it as an ending, the other as an opportunity. And that simple shift in perception rewrites the entire journey. This is where mindset becomes the quiet architect of our future. If your thoughts are filled with fear, resentment, or limitation, even the most courageous actions will feel heavy, burdened by invisible chains. But when you nurture an outlook that sees possibilities, resilience, and meaning in challenges, the same actions become powerful, accelerated, guided by an energy that seems to open doors effortlessly. Consider how often life tests us, not with overwhelming crises, but with subtle frustrations. The delays, the disappointments, the daily inconveniences that seem minor but accumulate like weights on the soul. Worry, resentment, and frustration are far more exhausting than work itself. They drain energy not because of what happens externally, but because of the inner resistance we create. Inner conflict is like carrying a heavy stone everywhere you go, slowing every step, while inner peace is like releasing that weight and discovering strength you didn't know you had. When you cultivate calm, when you allow space within for acceptance and clarity, even the hardest tasks seem lighter. Peace is not passive. It fuels endurance, sharpens focus, and protects you from being consumed by circumstances. Behind every great transformation, there is this invisible balance, knowledge transformed into action, action sustained by attitude, and attitude protected by inner peace. This trinity is often overlooked because it doesn't shout for attention. It works quietly, almost in the background, yet it decides everything. Imagine for a moment how your own life might shift if you aligned these forces fully. What if you stopped consuming knowledge passively and instead began experimenting, even imperfectly, with what you learn? What if you chose, each morning, to frame challenges as opportunities for growth instead of burdens? And what if you learned to silence the draining whispers of resentment and worry, creating space for stillness that recharges your spirit? These are not abstract ideas. They are real, practical shifts that create ripples in every part of your existence. The impact spreads into your relationships, your work, your sense of purpose, and even the way you carry yourself in silence when no one is watching. The revelation is that transformation is not about a single grand decision, but about daily alignment with truths you already know, yet often postpone embodying. Knowledge is waiting for your courage, attitude is waiting for your choice, and peace is waiting for your surrender. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when these forces align, they don't just change your present reality, they rewrite the trajectory of your journey, often in ways you cannot predict at the start. It is in this space that life begins to reveal its most profound lessons, showing you that destiny is less about chance and more about the energy you bring into every decision. And if this resonates with you, write in the comments, "I'm also on this path," because by affirming it, you're not only marking your place in this conversation, but declaring to yourself and others that you are choosing to live with action, mindset, and peace in alignment. Success is often romanticized as a sudden breakthrough, a miracle that changes everything overnight. But the hidden truth, the one we often overlook, is that real success is built slowly, piece by piece, through consistent small efforts that rarely attract applause in the beginning. Behind the scenes of every great achievement, you won't find luck or instant miracles. You'll find discipline, patience, and a willingness to repeat simple actions with intention. Think about how seeds grow. You don't see the roots stretching underground, but they're doing the essential work that allows the tree to one day break through the soil. In the same way, each small step you take, no matter how insignificant it seems, is part of a larger transformation that only becomes visible when you've persisted long enough. The challenge is that the world often conditions us to crave the extraordinary while underestimating the power of the ordinary. We imagine that one opportunity, one perfect day, or one grand decision will shift everything. Yet life does not usually operate through sudden explosions of destiny. It shapes us through repetition, through the steady rhythm of showing up. The journey to impact is less about rare, dramatic moments and more about what you decide to do every single day when no one is watching. That is where the foundations of true transformation are built. And this brings us to a subtle but powerful shift in perspective. Waiting for the perfect moment is one of the greatest illusions that holds people back. How many dreams have been delayed, not because they were impossible, but because someone kept waiting for the right time, the right resources, the right confidence. The hidden truth is that the perfect moment does not exist. Conditions will never be flawless. If you wait, you surrender your power to circumstances. But when you decide to act, even with trembling hands and imperfect conditions, something extraordinary happens. The moment itself transforms. Courage has that power. It takes what is incomplete and turns it into an opportunity. Initiative is what makes the ordinary extraordinary. Think of the times you've acted despite fear, when logic told you to wait, but your inner conviction pushed you forward. Those are the moments that echo the loudest in memory, because they remind us that destiny is not something that happens to us, it's something we shape. This is why every time you choose to act instead of waiting, you are rewriting the story of your life in real time. And yet, fear of failure still whispers in the background, doesn't it? The idea that trying and not succeeding is worse than never trying at all. But here lies one of life's greatest revelations. Failure is not the enemy, it is the teacher. The real danger is not falling, it's standing still, refusing to move, letting days slip into weeks and weeks into years while your potential remains dormant. Every attempt, even the ones that don't work, carries lessons, insights, and resilience that no theory could ever provide. Each day offers a new chance to begin again, and those who dare to try repeatedly discover that failure is not an ending, but a bridge, carrying them closer to clarity, strength, and eventual success. The most inspiring journeys are rarely those of people who never stumbled, but of those who kept rising after every fall. They understood that the act of trying itself was progress, that courage in the face of imperfection had more impact than waiting for certainty. This is the hidden architecture of growth: consistent effort, fearless action, and resilience in failure. Together, they create a momentum that no single perfect moment could ever deliver. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you begin to see your daily actions not as isolated tasks, but as part of a greater journey, your relationship with time, effort, and even failure changes completely. You start to recognize that each decision, no matter how small, is a thread weaving the fabric of your destiny. And before we move forward, I'd love for you to write in the comments, "I choose to act." Because when you declare it, you're not just typing words, you're reminding yourself that hesitation no longer has the final word in your story. Life has a way of lulling us into comfort, wrapping us in routines that feel safe but quietly drain our potential. The comfort zone is tempting because it promises stability, but the hidden truth is that nothing extraordinary grows there. Real transformation only begins when you step into the unfamiliar, when you embrace the tension of discipline and the fire of passion that discomfort brings. It's in those moments when your heart races, when fear and excitement collide, that growth truly happens. Discomfort is not punishment. It is proof that you are stretching beyond your limits, reshaping your mindset, and rewriting the possibilities of your journey. If you think back to the most defining moments of your life, weren't they often marked by risk, by decisions that demanded courage instead of convenience? What follows is an even deeper revelation. Growth is sustained not just by what you do, but by how you feel about what you do. To do great work, you have to fall in love with the process itself. Enthusiasm is not just a fleeting spark of motivation. It is the energy that carries you through inevitable failures and setbacks. Passion transforms obstacles into stepping stones, because when you truly care about the work in front of you, even struggles become meaningful. Enthusiasm does not erase failure, but it changes how failure feels. Instead of defeat, it becomes feedback. Instead of a dead end, it becomes a lesson. That is the mindset that separates those who endure from those who give up. Behind the scenes of every so-called overnight success is someone who loved their work enough to persist when everything seemed against them. But there is still a deeper layer here. even as you strive, as you push past comfort and bring passion into your daily actions. You begin to discover that happiness is not a prize waiting for you at the finish line. True happiness is not something to be found out there in the next achievement, the next possession, or the next stage of recognition. Happiness is created, moment by moment, in how you choose to live today. It is hidden in the ordinary rituals of life, the conversations, the pauses, the laughter, even the simple act of giving your best to something you love. When you realize this, every day becomes significant because each day offers you the chance to create joy instead of waiting for it to arrive. There is a certain freedom in this revelation. It means you don't have to postpone happiness until you reach some future milestone. You can craft it here, now, even as you struggle, even as you build. The impact of this mindset is enormous. Instead of chasing an elusive future, you ground yourself in the present, finding fulfillment in the act of becoming rather than the illusion of finally arriving. This is how each day begins to count, not because it was flawless, but because it was lived with awareness, passion, and authenticity. When you connect these truths together, stepping beyond comfort, loving what you do, and creating happiness daily, you begin to see a pattern emerging. It is not about waiting for life to give you permission. It is about seizing the hidden opportunities within each moment and shaping them with courage and joy. That is how ordinary days become extraordinary. That is how a journey, with all its struggles and imperfections, transforms into something deeply fulfilling. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you see happiness, not as something to chase, but as something you build, it changes the way you approach not only your goals, but your entire existence. And before we move forward, I'd love for you to write in the comments, "I create my own happiness." By doing this, you're not just responding, you're affirming to yourself that joy is already within your reach, waiting for you to bring it into each day. Strength is often misunderstood. We are taught to measure it by physical ability, by how much weight a body can carry or how far it can endure. Yet the deeper truth is that real strength is not in the muscles, but in the will. It is the invisible force of the soul that allows someone to rise again after defeat, to keep moving when everything seems impossible, to believe when no evidence supports belief. Willpower is the quiet engine behind transformation. It does not shout, it does not demand attention, but it reshapes reality one decision at a time. Think of all the moments in your own journey when your body felt tired, when your circumstances looked hopeless, but something inside you refused to give in. That was not physical energy. It was the resilience of the spirit, the hidden power of the soul carrying you forward. And when you realize that this inner strength exists, a profound shift happens. You begin to see that success is not reserved for those who seem stronger, smarter, or luckier. Success blooms naturally when joy fuels the journey. Happiness is not the reward waiting at the end. It is the key that unlocks progress along the way. When you enjoy the path, even with its struggles, success becomes inevitable because you are no longer fighting against yourself. Enthusiasm and fulfillment create energy that discipline alone cannot sustain. This is why the most impactful lives are lived by those who find meaning in what they do each day, not by those who merely chase an end result. When happiness and purpose align, success follows like a shadow. It cannot be separated from the source that created it. But there is still another layer hidden behind this. Life itself is unpredictable, constantly throwing events we cannot control into our path. Yet here lies a revelation. What happens to us matters far less than how we choose to respond. Life is perhaps only 10% circumstance and 90% reaction. This means that even in the face of difficulties, we hold immense power. Our mindset, our interpretation, our decisions in those crucial moments are what shape the outcome. The same event can break one person and strengthen another, not because of the event itself, but because of the inner narrative each one chooses to write. Think about this hidden truth for a moment. Behind the scenes of every challenge, there is a decision being made. Will I allow this to define me negatively, or will I use it as fuel for transformation? The impact of that choice is enormous, echoing far beyond the moment itself. When you adopt the mindset that your reaction defines your reality, you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstance, but as an active creator of your journey. Even pain, loss, or failure can be reframed as lessons, catalysts, and stepping stones if you choose to see them that way. This understanding is liberating because it hands the reins of power back to you. No longer are you dependent solely on external events aligning perfectly. Instead, you realize that every day offers an opportunity to rewrite a meaning of what happens to you. Strength, happiness, and resilience are not accidents. They are choices, cultivated through awareness and willpower. When you embody this, life no longer feels like something that simply happens. It feels like something you are shaping with each thought and action. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because once you grasp the immense influence of your reactions, you begin to see that reality itself is flexible, that the story you live is not fixed, but written moment by your responses. And to anchor this reflection in your own life, write in the comments, "I choose my response." By doing so, you are not just leaving a trace here, you are reminding yourself that the power to define what life means to you has always been in your hands. Fear is one of the most persistent illusions of the human mind. It disguises itself as caution, as logic, as preparation, but at its core, it is often nothing more than a projection of doubts that have not yet materialized. The hidden truth is that fear is rarely about the present. It is about imagined futures, possible failures, and outcomes that exist only in the theater of our thoughts. Left unchecked, those doubts build invisible walls around us, walls that limit tomorrow before it even arrives. Yet something extraordinary happens the moment you replace fear with action. Movement dissolves hesitation. Action reveals that most fears were smoke and shadows, powerless once confronted. It is in the doing, not the waiting, that fear loses its hold. Behind the scenes of every transformation lies this simple but profound decision to step forward despite the uncertainty. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act while fear whispers in the background. And each time you do, you teach your mind a new truth, that you are stronger than the doubts that try to define you. In that choice, limits begin to crumble, and what once seemed unreachable becomes a real possibility. But none of this can happen without willingness. Learning is not a passive process. It demands openness, humility, and the courage to admit that you don't yet know. If you want to grow, no obstacle, no critic, no circumstance can truly stop you. Growth is not reserved for the lucky or the gifted. It is available to anyone willing to learn. The willingness itself becomes the engine of transformation, carrying you forward even when conditions are far from perfect. Think of the people you admire most. Their journeys are filled with failures, setbacks, and obstacles. But what stands out is their willingness to keep going, to extract lessons from every step, and to use those lessons as fuel for the next stage. When you approach life with this kind of mindset, even difficulties become classrooms. Every mistake offers a revelation, every challenge hides a lesson, and every disappointment prepares you for something greater. The path of growth is not smooth, but it is meaningful, because each step builds resilience and wisdom that cannot be learned from theory alone. And in this process of acting despite fear and learning with willingness, another force emerges: passion. Passion is what gives life its vibrancy. Without it, even success feels empty. With it, even struggles become worthwhile. Living with passion means refusing to measure life only by its problems and instead beginning to count blessings, to see opportunities where others see obstacles, to find reasons to be grateful, even in the midst of challenge. Gratitude transforms the way you experience reality. It multiplies joy, not because it changes circumstances, but because it changes perspective. When you focus on blessings, your energy shifts, and life itself begins to feel abundant rather than scarce. This is more than a mindset. It is a way of living that reshapes your journey. Fear replaced by action creates momentum, willingness to learn fuels growth, and gratitude infused with passion turns each day into a source of strength. Together, they form a powerful triad that can transform not only the direction of your life, but the quality of every single moment. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when these forces combine courage, willingness, and gratitude, they don't just influence what you achieve, they redefine who you become in the process. And to bring this reflection closer to your own reality, write in the comments, "I choose courage." By doing so, you anchor this truth in your journey, reminding yourself that every step forward is an act of power greater than fear itself. Patience is one of those virtues we admire from afar, but often resist when life demands it from us. It feels bitter because it forces us to wait in a world that glorifies speed, instant gratification, and quick results. Yet the hidden truth is that anything truly lasting, whether success, wisdom, or deep transformation, cannot be rushed. Patience is the soil where growth takes root, unseen at first, but quietly, building strength beneath the surface. The fruit, when it finally arrives, is undeniably sweet because it is the product of time, effort, and faith combined. Think of how nature itself operates. No tree bears fruit overnight. No mountain is shaped in a moment. The journey requires seasons, and so does your own growth. Behind the scenes of every genuine achievement is a long process of waiting, persisting, and trusting that the effort will eventually bloom. And while patience shapes the timeline of our success, the true measure of who we are is revealed in the way we treat others, especially those who cannot give us anything in return. It's easy to be kind when it benefits us, when recognition or reciprocity is involved. But real character shines in those quiet, often unnoticed moments where kindness is given with no expectation. That is where integrity reveals itself, not in grand gestures, but in the way we treat the people society often overlooks. Decisions made in those moments echo louder than any public recognition because they are driven by authenticity, not performance. It is there, in the behind-the-scenes choices, that the essence of who we are is truly defined. And yet, even with patience and kindness guiding us, many carry the heavy burden of the past as if it were a permanent label. Mistakes, regrets, and old wounds linger in the mind, convincing us that the future has already been decided. But this is another illusion. The past only dictates the future if you allow it to. Each day arrives as a second chance, a blank page waiting for new words, new choices, new actions. The hidden truth is that your journey is not determined by where you have been, but by where you decide to go next. Carrying the weight of yesterday only blinds you to the possibilities of today. Transformation begins the moment you realize you are not bound by the old story. You are free to write a new one, starting now. There is something liberating in this awareness. It means that no matter how many times you've stumbled, you are never disqualified from growth. Life does not close its doors because of your past. It simply waits for your decision to step forward differently. And when you combine patience with kindness and the courage to let go of what no longer serves you, you create a foundation strong enough to support any dream. This is not just theory. It is the very fabric of resilience, the mindset that allows people to rise from difficulties and create lives filled with meaning and impact. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you truly grasp that every day is a second chance, you stop living as though your best moments are behind you. You begin to see that the power to change, to forgive, and to begin again has always been within your reach. And to affirm this shift within yourself, write in the comments, "I embrace my second chance." By doing this, you mark a turning point in your own journey, reminding yourself that today is never too late to start again with clarity and strength. True wealth is often misunderstood, mistaken for possessions, numbers in an account, or external validation. Yet if you look closely, you'll notice that those who appear to have everything on the outside can still feel empty within. The hidden truth is that real wealth lies in the heart, in the quality of your thoughts, your capacity to love, the integrity of your character, and the depth of your gratitude. What you become has a far greater impact than what you accumulate. Possessions can be lost, stolen, or forgotten, but who you are becoming through your journey, your resilience, your wisdom, your compassion. These are treasures that cannot be taken away. They are the kind of wealth that silently shapes your destiny, influencing every decision, every relationship, and every path you choose to walk. But to cultivate this inner wealth, you have to release the obsession with perfection. Perfection is a trap that convinces us not to act until everything feels flawless, and in doing so, it paralyzes growth. Progress, however, tells a different story. It is the steady unfolding of small steps, the willingness to move forward, even if the path is unclear, even if mistakes are made along the way. Transformation is never the product of perfect execution. It is built through persistence, adjustments, and the courage to keep going. Think of progress as a series of brushstrokes on a canvas. Each one may not look like much in isolation, but together they create a masterpiece. Behind the scenes of every great achievement are countless imperfect steps, moments of doubt, and decisions made without certainty, yet they add up to something extraordinary. This is why the idea of failure itself needs to be redefined. The only real failure is refusing to try at all. Every attempt, no matter the outcome, carries growth within it. When you try and fall short, you gain clarity, resilience, and insight that prepare you for the next attempt. But when you refuse to try, you gain nothing. You remain trapped in the illusion of safety, missing the chance to expand. The hidden truth is that the path of growth is paved with attempts, and it is through those attempts that transformation happens. Success is not about never stumbling. It is about building the courage to rise after every fall, stronger and more aware than before. Think of the countless opportunities that pass unnoticed simply because fear whispers, "What if it doesn't work?" Yet behind that fear lies another possibility. What if it does? Even when the answer is uncertain, the act of trying moves you closer to becoming the person you are meant to be. Refusing to try is like refusing to plant seeds because you're afraid not all of them will grow. But growth requires planting, even without guarantees. Each attempt is a seed of transformation, and some of those seeds will surprise you with fruit greater than you imagined. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you embrace the truth that progress is more powerful than perfection, and that every attempt carries value, you begin to live with a new kind of freedom. You stop measuring your worth by flawless outcomes, and start measuring it by the courage to keep moving, learning, and becoming. And to anchor this reflection in your own heart, write in the comments, "I choose progress." By doing this, you remind yourself that every step, no matter how small, is a declaration of growth, and a refusal to let fear decide the course of your journey. Adaptability is one of the most underrated strengths we can cultivate. Yet, it is the very skill that determines whether we thrive when circumstances shift unexpectedly. Survival has never truly belonged to the strongest or the most intelligent, but to those who know how to bend without breaking, who can adjust their mindset when the world refuses to follow their plans. Life constantly brings changes we did not anticipate, and the hidden truth is that resistance to change consumes far more energy than adapting to it. Flexibility is not weakness. It is a sign of resilience, an inner agility that allows you to keep moving forward even when the path looks different from what you imagined. Behind the scenes of every remarkable journey, there are countless pivots, choices to let go of rigidity in order to embrace possibility. And yet, for many, the challenge is not about adaptability, but about taking that very first step. Starting is always the hardest part because it demands breaking inertia, leaving behind the comfort of thought, and stepping into the uncertainty of action. The moment before beginning is where doubts are the loudest, where the mind invents excuses, distractions, and reasons to delay. But once you begin, momentum takes over. Each step forward makes the next easier, and progress begins to flow almost naturally. The hidden truth is that action generates clarity. By beginning, you discover what works, what doesn't, and what adjustments are needed. Without starting, everything remains hypothetical, locked in a cycle of someday. The act of beginning, even imperfectly, ignites a chain of transformation that would otherwise remain dormant. Once that momentum is created, The energy you bring into your journey becomes crucial because it is your mindset that colors every experience. A positive mind is not blind optimism. It is a deliberate choice to interpret life in a way that empowers rather than diminishes. Attitude shapes perception, and perception shapes reality. When you carry a mindset grounded in hope, curiosity, and resilience, you begin to notice opportunities others overlook. You attract possibilities, not because magic suddenly appears, but because your focus shifts to what can be built instead of what is broken. The impact of attitude is profound and not only influences outcomes, but also determines how you experience the process itself. Behind every success story is someone who decided to stay open to change, who found the courage to start, and who maintained a perspective that aligned them with growth instead of defeat. Flexibility ensures that when the unexpected arrives, it becomes a turning point rather than a dead end. Starting ensures that ideas don't remain locked in imagination, but take form in reality. And a positive attitude ensures that every challenge, no matter how heavy, is approached with a strength that multiplies instead of diminishes. Together, these forces create a powerful foundation for transformation, allowing you to shape not only what happens around you, but also who you become along the way. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when adaptability, momentum, and mindset merge, they form a kind of inner architecture that makes you unshakable, no matter how uncertain life feels. And to affirm this perspective in your own journey, write in the comments, "I choose to adapt." By doing so, you remind yourself that flexibility is not a compromise, but a form of power that opens new doors and keeps you moving forward, even when the path takes unexpected turns. Courage is often imagined as something grand, dramatic, and loud, a bold act that draws attention and applause. But the reality is far more subtle. True courage frequently lives in quiet moments, in the soft decision to rise again after being knocked down, in the whisper that says, "I'll try again tomorrow." It doesn't always announce itself with force. Sometimes it barely speaks at all, yet its impact is profound. Behind the scenes of resilience lies this understated bravery, the willingness to continue when no one is watching, when recognition is absent, and when failure seems louder than progress. It is this kind of courage that builds the foundation of transformation, piece by piece, day by day. Life, with all its unpredictability, often surrounds us with storms. We wait for calm skies, telling ourselves we will act when conditions improve, when challenges ease, when clarity arrives. But storms have a way of lingering, and if we make our lives dependent on their passing, we lose years to waiting. The hidden truth is that life does not stop for us. It asks us to move within the chaos, to find rhythm inside the disorder, to dance in the rain, rather than hiding from it. This is where a profound mindset shift occurs. You stop demanding perfect circumstances, and instead learn to carry joy, purpose, and momentum, even when the world feels unstable. Dancing in the rain is not denial. It is mastery. It is the revelation that you can create beauty and meaning regardless of external conditions. And yet, dancing in the rain, continuing despite difficulty, inevitably brings discomfort. Growth has never been gentle. It stretches, challenges, and sometimes hurts. But that pain is not a punishment. It is the seed of progress. Every struggle you endure today carries within it the possibility of tomorrow's strength. Behind every moment of discomfort lies a hidden transformation at work, shaping resilience, sharpening clarity, and forging a deeper version of yourself. Think of it this way. The weight that feels unbearable now is also the very force that builds your endurance. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without struggle, there is no growth. The impact of this truth is liberating once you accept it. Instead of resisting pain, you begin to see it as a companion on your journey, a sign that something within you is expanding. Struggle becomes less about suffering and more about becoming. It doesn't mean you should seek pain, but it does mean you no longer need to fear it. When viewed with the right perspective, pain becomes evidence that you are in motion, that you are stretching beyond limits, that your future self is being built through the effort you give today. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you embrace courage in its quiet form, once you choose to move even within storms, and once you accept the hidden gift inside pain, you begin to live with a kind of unshakable confidence that no external challenge can erase. And to anchor this truth in your own life, write in the comments, "I grow through challenges." By doing this, you remind yourself that every hardship is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your transformation. Greatness is not something you chase outside of yourself. It's already within you, waiting to be uncovered. Yet so often, we bury it under constant comparisons with others, measuring our worth against achievements, appearances, or timelines that were never meant to be ours. The hidden truth is that comparison steals clarity. It blinds us to the progress we've already made and distracts us from the unique journey unfolding in our own lives. True transformation begins when you shift the lens inward, when you measure yourself not by someone else's highlight reel, but by who you were yesterday. Growth is deeply personal, and even the smallest step forward in your own path carries more meaning than miles walked trying to imitate another. Behind the scenes of real greatness is not competition. It is self-honesty, discipline, and the courage to keep evolving at your own pace. But even with that mindset, the journey is never free of obstacles. Failure will appear, sometimes often, and it will test your resolve. Yet success has never been the absence of falling. It is the persistence to rise each time you do. Falling is part of the path. It teaches lessons strength cannot learn in comfort. Every stumble exposes hidden truths about your resilience, your mindset, and your ability to adapt. The defining factor is not the fall, but the rise, not the mistake, but what you do with it afterward. This is where persistence becomes the silent architect of destiny. Success is less about talent or luck, and more about refusing to stay down when challenges try to pin you there. The impact of this persistence is subtle at first, but over time, it builds a momentum so strong that no single setback can erase it. And in that space between falling and rising, another decision emerges, the choice to stop searching for excuses and start seeking results. Excuses are seductive. They offer temporary comfort, an explanation that relieves you from responsibility. But every excuse is a pause button on your transformation, freezing you in the same place while time keeps moving forward. Results, on the other hand, come not when conditions are perfect, but when you choose to act despite imperfection. The hidden truth is that success rarely begins with confidence. It begins before you feel ready. Readiness is not a prerequisite. It is a product of stepping into the unknown, of taking the leap and figuring out the details along the way. Think of the times in your life when you moved forward even while doubting yourself. Perhaps you felt unprepared, uncertain, or inadequate, but by choosing action, you created proof that you could do more than you believed. This is how readiness is built, by choosing to act, not by waiting for fear to disappear. Behind every story of transformation, there is a moment where someone stopped telling themselves why it couldn't be done and simply started. That moment, small as it seems, is what changes the trajectory of an entire journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because once you stop comparing, once you learn to rise after every fall, and once you replace excuses with action, you begin to realize that success is not a distant dream. It is a mindset, cultivated daily, through choices that gradually reshape who you are. And to reinforce this truth within yourself, write in the comments, "I choose persistence." By doing so, you're not just engaging, you're reminding yourself that even when it feels uncertain, your decision to keep moving will always carry more weight than the excuses that try to hold you back. Life is not shaped by what you do occasionally, but by what you repeat consistently. Habits are the quiet architects of destiny, laying down bricks day after day, often without fanfare. It is easy to underestimate their power because they feel so ordinary, but behind the scenes, they are constantly shaping the structure of your future. The hidden truth is that success or stagnation is rarely the result of one grand decision. It is the accumulation of small choices made repeatedly, often in silence. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming, And the more you align those habits with your deepest values, the more inevitable your transformation becomes. And yet, many hesitate to even begin building these habits because of fear of failing, fear of wasting time, fear of not being enough. But here lies a paradox. The biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. Playing it safe may feel secure in the moment, but it carries a hidden cost, the erosion of potential. Fear of failure often becomes more dangerous than failure itself, because it convinces you not to move at all. Failure, at least, teaches lessons and builds resilience. Fear only builds walls. The journey of impact and growth requires breaking through that illusion, choosing to step into uncertainty rather than allowing fear to decide your path. Transformation is always waiting on the other side of risk, and every meaningful story carries this truth. Progress was born not from safety, but from bold decisions that defied hesitation. This is where dreams enter the conversation. Dreams are not fragile illusions. They are blueprints of possibility, but they demand courage and consistent effort to come alive. A dream without action remains a fantasy, but when paired with determination, it becomes a force capable of bending reality. The revelation is that nothing is truly impossible for a mind willing to persist. Determination is the bridge between vision and reality, and those who carry it find that even when progress is slow, even when setbacks arrive, the dream continues to grow roots beneath the surface. Behind every breakthrough is a long journey of courage, expressed not in grand gestures, but in the decision to keep going, day after day. It is this combination habits that align with your purpose, risks that free you from fear's cage, and dreams pursued with unwavering determination that quietly reshapes your life. Each of these forces feeds the other. Habits make courage sustainable. Courage makes dreams attainable, and dreams give meaning to the habits that structure your days. The impact of living this way is transformative because it allows you to stop waiting for miracles and instead become the creator of them. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because once you realize that destiny is built not by chance, but by deliberate choices repeated with courage, the way you approach each day changes completely. And to anchor this truth in your own journey, write in the comments, "I choose determination." By doing this, you remind yourself that your future is not a matter of waiting. It is a matter of building, risk by risk, habit by habit, and dream by dream. Stepping out of your comfort zone is never easy, but it is always necessary. Comfort seduces us with safety, convincing us that stability is enough. But beneath that calm surface lies stagnation. Growth never happens in the familiar. It requires the willingness to take new actions, to summon fresh courage, to step into spaces where the outcome is uncertain. The hidden truth is that your comfort zone is not a sanctuary. It is a cage disguised as security. Every great transformation begins the moment you decide to cross that invisible boundary and face the unknown. Behind the scenes of every breakthrough is someone who dared to risk awkwardness, rejection, or failure, only to discover that the fear of leaving was far heavier than the reality of what awaited outside. And once you take that step, once you begin stretching beyond what feels safe, realize that life's richness is not found in control, but in discovery. This is where gratitude becomes an essential companion. Gratitude has the power to transform everything you already have into enough, shifting your perspective from scarcity to abundance. When you practice it, life stops being a relentless chase for more and starts becoming an appreciation of what already surrounds you. Gratitude does not mean you stop striving or dreaming. It means you learn to value the present even as you reach for the future. It softens fear, fuels courage, and multiplies joy. Living each day as if it were your last does not mean recklessness. It means presence. It means pouring yourself fully into conversations, cherishing connections, and refusing to waste time on bitterness or regret. The hidden truth is that urgency and appreciation are intertwined. When you treat today as irreplaceable, you naturally align with what matters most. Gratitude and courage together create a mindset where even challenges are reframed as opportunities, and even small blessings shine as treasures. Imagine the impact of combining these forces, stepping beyond your comfort zone while carrying gratitude in your heart. That combination creates a life where every action expands you and every moment enriches you. Fear loses its grip because courage keeps you moving, and dissatisfaction fades because gratitude keeps you grounded. This is the kind of alignment that doesn't just change what you achieve. It transforms who you are becoming in the process. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because when you learn to merge courage with gratitude, something profound happens. The future no longer feels like something you're waiting for. It feels like something you're actively creating with every choice, every word, every step. And to anchor this truth in your own journey, write in the comments, "I choose courage and gratitude." By putting these words down, you're not only engaging, you're reminding yourself that stepping forward with appreciation in your heart is the path to a life that feels both expansive and complete. If you've stayed with me until now, it probably means these reflections spoke to something inside you. That's why I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, so you don't miss the chance to keep exploring ideas that can truly add value to your journey. And if you felt connected to this message, leave a comment saying, "I'm with you until the end, so I know you were here walking through every step with me." Don't forget to tap the like button. It's a simple way of showing that this conversation resonated with you and helps keep this space alive. And if you want to keep flowing with this same energy, there's a video right here that complements everything we talked about today. Click and continue with me over there.